Welcome, lovely viewers, to another exciting video. Welcome to another exciting video, where we'll be shedding light on Jerry Pournelle. Jerry Eugene Pournelle, August 7, 1933 September 8, 2017 was an American scientist in the area of operations research and human factors research, a science fiction writer, essayist, journalist, and one of the first bloggers. In the years and early years, he worked in the aerospace industry, but eventually focused on his writing career. In an obituary in Gizmodo, he is described as a tireless ambassador for the future. Pournelle's hard science fiction writing received multiple awards. In addition to his solo writing, he wrote several novels with collaborators including Larry Niven. Pournelle served a term as president of the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers of America. Pournelle's journalism focused primarily on the computer industry, astronomy, and space exploration. From the years until the early years, he contributed to the computer magazine Byte, writing from the viewpoint of an intelligent user, with the oft-cited credo, "We do this stuff so you won't have to." He created one of the first blogs, entitled Manor, which included commentary about politics, computer technology, space technology, and science fiction. Pournelle held conservative political views, which were sometimes expressed in his fiction. He was one of the founders of the Citizens Advisory Council on National Space Policy, which developed some of the Reagan administration's space initiatives, including the earliest versions of what would become the Strategic Defense Initiative. In the next phase, we'll be immersing ourselves in the realm of early years and exploring its real-world applications. Pournelle was born in Shreveport, Louisiana, the seat of Caddo Parish in northwestern Louisiana, and later lived with his family in Caplevel, Tennessee, an unincorporated area near Memphis. Percival Pournelle, his father, was a radio advertising executive and general manager of several radio stations. Ruth Pournelle, his mother, was a teacher, although during World War II, she worked in a munitions factory. He attended first grade at Street Ann's Elementary School in Memphis, which had 2 grades to classroom. Beginning with 3rd grade, he attended Colville Consolidated Elementary School in Coleville, which had about 25 pupils per grade and 4 rooms and 4 teachers for 8 grades. Pournelle attended high school at Christian Brothers College in Memphis, run by the De La Salle Christian Brothers. Despite its name, it was a high school at the time. He served in the United States Army during the Korean War. After his military service, Pournelle attended the University of Iowa in Iowa City. Subsequently, he studied at the University of Washington, where he received a Bachelor of Science in Psychology on June 11, 1955, an MS in Psychology Experimental Statistics on March 21, 1958, and a Ph.D. in Political Science in March 1964. His master's thesis is titled Behavioral Observations of the Effects of Personality Needs and Leadership in Small Discussion Groups, and is dated 1957. Pournelle's Ph.D. dissertation is titled The American Political Continuum, an examination of the validity of the left-right model as an instrument for studying contemporary American political isms. As we venture forward, let's examine personal life in detail and gain a deeper appreciation for its significance. Pournelle married Roberta Jane Issel in 1959. The couple had 5 children. His wife and son, Naval Officer Philip, and daughter, archaeologist Jennifer, have also written science fiction in collaboration with their father. In 2008, Pournelle battled a brain tumor, which appeared to respond favorably to radiation treatment. An August 28, 2008 report on his website claimed he was now cancer-free. Pournelle suffered a stroke on December 16, 2014, for which he was hospitalized for a time. By June 2015, he was writing again, though impairment from the stroke had slowed his typing. Pournelle died in his sleep of heart failure at his home in Studio City, California, on September 8, 2017. In the upcoming portion, we'll be dissecting faith and worldview to gain a comprehensive understanding of its implications. Pournelle was raised a Unitarian. He converted to Roman Catholicism while attending Christian Brothers College. Pournelle was introduced to Malthusian principles upon reading the book Road to Survival by the ecologist and ornithologist William Vogt, who depicted an Earth denuded of species other than humans, all of them headed for squalor. Concerned about the Malthusian dangers of human overpopulation, and considering the Catholic Church's position on contraception to be untenable, he left the Catholic Church while an undergraduate at the University of Iowa. Pournelle eventually returned to religion, and for a number of years was a high church Anglican, in part because Anglican theology was virtually identical to Catholic theology, with the exception that the Anglicans accepted as moral the use of birth control. Pournelle eventually returned to the Catholic Church, as his other beliefs were consistent with the Catholic Communion, although he did not agree with the Church's position on birth control. Despite his estrangement from the Catholic Church, he opposed having the government require that Catholic institutions provide access to birth control or abortion. He wrote that Sunday attendance at St. Francis de Sales Catholic Church, in Sherman Oaks, Los Angeles, was part of his family's routine. Upon his death, his family arranged a memorial mass at the church on 16 September 2017. Now, let's shift our focus to career and embark on an intellectual exploration of its various dimensions. Pournelle was an intellectual prick of Russell Kirk and Stephen T. Possony. Pournelle wrote numerous publications with Possony, including The Strategy of Technology 1970. The strategy has been used as a textbook at the United States Military Academy West Point, the United States Air Force Academy Colorado Springs, the Air War College, and the National War College. In the late years, while conducting operations research at Boeing, he envisioned a weapon consisting of massive tungsten rods dropped from high above the Earth. These super-dense, super-fast kinetic energy projectiles delivered enormous destructive force to the target without contaminating the environs with radioactive isotopes, as would occur with a nuclear bomb. Pournelle named his superweapon Project Thor. Others called it Rods from God. Pournelle headed the Human Factors Laboratory at the Boeing Company, where his group did pioneering work on astronaut heat tolerance in extreme environments. His group also did experimental work that resulted in certification of the passenger oxygen system for the Boeing 707 airplane. He later worked as a systems analyst in a design and analysis group at Boeing, where he did strategic analysis of proposed new weapons systems. In 1964, Pournelle joined the Aerospace Corporation in San Bernardino, California, where he was editor of Project 75, a major study of all ballistic missile technology for the purpose of making recommendations to the U.S. Air Force on investment in technologies required to build the missile force to be deployed in 1975. After Project 75 was completed, Pournelle became manager of several advanced concept studies. At North American Rockwell's Space Division, Pournelle was Associate Director of Operations Research, where he took part in the Apollo program and general operations. He was founding president of the Pepperdine Research Institute. In 1989, Pournelle, Max Hunter, and retired Army Lieutenant General Daniel O. Graham made a presentation to then Vice President Dan Quayle promoting development of the DC-X rocket. Pournelle was among those who in 1968 signed a pro-Vietnam War advertisement in Galaxy Science Fiction. During the years and years, he also published articles on military tactics and wargaming in the military simulations industry in Avalon Hill's magazine The General. That led him into correspondences with some of the early figures in Dungeons and Dragons and other fantasy role-playing games. Two of his collaborations with Larry Niven reached the top rankings in the New York Times bestseller list. In 1977, Lucifer's Hammer reached number 2. Footfall, wherein Robert A. Heinlein was a thinly veiled minor character, reached the number 1 spot in 1986. Pournelle served as president of the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers of America in 1973. In 1994, Pournelle's friendly relationship with Newt Gingrich led to Gingrich securing a government job for Pournelle's son, Richard. At the time, Pournelle and Gingrich were reported to be collaborating on a science fiction political thriller. Pournelle's relationship with Gingrich was long established even then, as Pournelle had written the preface to Gingrich's book, Window of Opportunity 1985. Years after Byte shuttered, Pournelle wrote his Chaos Manor column online. He reprised it at Byte.com, which he helped launch with journalists Gina Smith, John Celsius, Dvorak, and others. However, after a shake-up, he announced that rather than stay at UBM, he would follow Smith, Dvorak, and 14 other news journalists to start an independent tech and politics site. As an active director of that site and others it launched, Pournelle wrote, edited, and worked with young writers and journalists on the craft of writing about science and tech. As we progress through this video, let's shift our attention towards fiction and uncover its hidden depths. Beginning during his tenure at Boeing Company, Pournelle submitted science fiction short stories to John W. Campbell, the editor of Astounding Science Fiction, later called Analog Science Fiction and Fact, but Campbell did not accept any of Pournelle's submissions until shortly before Campbell's death in 1971, when he accepted for publication Pournelle's novelette piece with honor. From the beginning, Pournelle's work has engaged strong military themes. Several books are centered on a fictional mercenary infantry force known as Falconman's Legion. There are strong parallels between these stories and the Chilled Cycle mercenary stories by Gordon R. Dickson, as well as Heinein's Starship Troopers, although Pournelle's work takes far fewer technological leaps than either of these. Pournelle was one of the few close friends of H. Beam Piper and was granted by Piper the rights to produce stories set in Piper's Terror-Human future history. This right has been recognized by the Piper estate. Pournelle worked for some years on a sequel to Space Viking but abandoned this in the early years. However, John Fahrenheit, Carr and Mike Robertson completed this sequel, entitled The Last Space Viking, and it was published in 2011. In 2013, Variety reported that motion picture rights to Pournelle's novel Janissaries had been acquired by the newly formed Goddard Film Group, headed by Gary Goddard. The IMDb website reported that the film was in development, and that husband and wife writing team, Judith and Garfield Reeves Stevens, had written the screenplay. Let's now enter the realm of pseudonyms and collaborations and discover the fascinating stories it has to tell. Pournelle began fiction writing non-SF work under a pseudonym in 1965. His early SF was published under the name Wade Curtis in Analog and other magazines. Some works were also published under the name J. E. Pournelle. In the mid-years, Pournelle began a fruitful collaboration with Larry Niven. He has also collaborated on novels with Roland J. Green, Michael Fahrenheit, Flynn, and Stephen Barnes, and collaborated as an editor on an anthology series The Endless Frontier with John Fahrenheit, Carr. In 2010, his daughter Jennifer R. Pournelle, writing as J. R. Pournelle, an archaeology professor, he published a novel Outies, an authorized sequel to the Moat in God's Eye series. In the following section, we'll be immersing ourselves in the captivating world of computing at Chaos Manor. Pournelle wrote the Computing at Chaos Manor column in Byte. Pournelle described his experiences with computer hardware and software, some purchased and some sent by vendors for review, at his home office. Because Pournelle was then, according to the magazine, virtually Byte's only writer who was a mere user, didn't create compilers and computers, he merely used them. It began as the Users column in July 1980. Subtitled Omicron TRS-80 boards, nudus, and sundry other matters, an editor's note accompanied the article. Pournelle stated that, among recurring characters were Pournelle's family members, friends, and many computers. He introduced to readers my friend Ezekiel, who happens to be a Chrome OS2 with 8-inch soft-sectored floppy disk drives. He also owned a TRS-80 Model I, and the first subject discussed in the column was an add-on that permitted it to use the same data and applications as the Chrome OS2. The next column appeared in December 1980 with the subtitle BASIC, Computer Languages and Computer Adventures, Ezekiel 2, a CompuPro S100 system, debuted in March 1983. Other computers received nicknames such as Zorro, Pournelle's colorful Zenith Z100, and Lucy Van Pelt, a fuss-budget IBM PC. He referred to generic PC compatibles as clones. Pournelle often denounced companies that announced vaporware, sarcastically writing that they would arrive real soon, now later abbreviated to just RSN, and those that used software copy protection. As part of a redesign in June 1984, the magazine renamed the popular column to Computing at Chaos Manor, and the accompanying letter column became Chaos Manor Mail. A memorable column written for Byte in August 1989 was user column 94, entitled The Great Power Spike, which gives a digital necropsy of his electronic equipment after high-voltage transmission wires dropped onto the power line for his neighborhood. After the print version of Byte ended publication in the United States, Pournelle continued publishing the column for the online version and international print editions of Byte. In July 2006, Pournelle and Byte declined to renew their contract, and Pournelle moved the column to his own website, Chaos Manor Reviews. In this part of the video, we'll be delving deeper into other technical writing and analyzing its key components. Pournelle claimed to be the first author to have written a published book contribution using a word processor on a personal computer in 1977. In the years, Pournelle was an editor and columnist for Survive, a survivalist magazine. He wrote the monthly column The Micro-Revolution for Popular Computing from April 1984 until the magazine's closure in December 1985. The column focused on the ways microcomputers were reshaping society. In 2011, Pournelle joined journalist Gina Smith, pundit John Celsius, Dvorak, political cartoonist Ted Rall, and several other Byte.com staff reporters to launch independent tech and political news site, A New Domain. Pournelle served as director of A New Domain until his death. After 1998, Pournelle maintained a website with a daily online journal, View from Chaos Manor, a blog dating from before the use of that term. It is a collection of his views and mail from a large variety of readers. This is a continuation of his blog-like online journal on Genie. He said he resists using the term blog because he considered the word ugly, and because he maintained that his view is primarily a vehicle for writing rather than a collection of links. In his book Dave Berry in Cyberspace, humorist Dave Berry has fun with Pournelle's Guru column in Byte magazine. Now, it's time to shift gears and explore software. Pournelle, in collaboration with his wife, Roberta, who was an expert on reading education, wrote the commercial education software program called Reading, the Learning Connection. With the groundwork laid, let's now examine politics and its connections to our previous discussions. Pournelle served as campaign research director for the mayoral campaign of 1969 for Los Angeles Mayor Sam Yorty, Democrat, working under campaign director Henry Salvatore. The election took place on May 27, 1969. Pournelle was later named executive assistant to the mayor in charge of research in September 1969, but resigned from the position after 2 weeks. After leaving Yorty's office, in 1970 he was a consultant to the Professional Educators of Los Angeles PELA, a group opposed to the unionization of school teachers in LA. He is sometimes quoted as describing his politics as somewhere to the right of Genghis Khan. Pournelle resisted others classifying him into any particular political group, but acknowledged the approximate accuracy of the term pay-conservatism as applying to him. He distinguished his conservatism from the alternative neoconservatism, noting that he had been drummed out of the conservative movement by the egregious Fromm, referring to prominent neoconservative David Fromm. Notably, Pournelle opposed the Gulf War and the Iraq War, maintaining that the money would be better spent developing energy technologies for the United States. According to a Wall Street Journal article, Pournelle estimates that for what the Iraq War has cost so far, the United States could have paid for a network of nuclear power stations sufficient to achieve energy independence and bankrupt the Arabs for once and for all. Now, we shift our focus to Pournelle chart, a topic that deserves our attention. Pournelle created the Pournelle chart in his doctoral dissertation, a two-dimensional coordinate system used to distinguish political ideologies. It is a Cartesian diagram in which the x-axis gauges opinion towards state and centralized government, farthest right being state worship, farthest left being the idea of a state as the ultimate evil, and the y-axis measures the belief that all problems in society have rational solutions, top being complete confidence in rational planning, bottom being complete lack of confidence in rational planning. As we progress through this video, let's now turn our gaze towards Strategic Defense Initiative. In a 1997 article, Norman Spinrad wrote that Pournelle had written the SDI portion of Ronald Reagan's State of the Union address as part of a plan to use SDI to get more money for space exploration using the larger defense budget. Pournelle wrote in response that while the Citizens Advisory Council on National Space Policy wrote parts of Reagan's 1983 SDI speech and provided much of the background for the policy, we certainly did not write the speech. We were not trying to boost space, we were trying to win the Cold War. The Council's first report in 1980 became the Transition Team policy paper on space for the incoming Reagan administration. The third report was quoted in the Reagan Star Wars speech. In the following section, we'll be immersing ourselves in the captivating world of politics in fiction. James Whitfield wrote that Pournelle delights in setting up complex background situations and plots, leading the reader step by step towards a solution which is the very opposite of politically correct, and defying a dissenting reader to find where in this logical chain he or she would have acted differently. Let's now enter the realm of Pournelle's laws and discover the fascinating stories it has to tell. Pournelle suggested several laws. He used the term Pournelle's law for the expression one user, one CPU. He later amended this to one user, at least one CPU in a column in InfoWorld. He also used the term Pournelle's law for silicon is cheaper than iron. That is, a computer is cheaper to upgrade than replace. A second aspect of this law was Pournelle's prediction that hard disk drives would eventually be replaced by solid-state memory. He has also used Pournelle's law to apply to the importance of checking cable connections when diagnosing computer problems. You'll find by and large, the trouble is a cable. Another Pournelle's law is if you don't know what you're doing, deal with those who do. As we transition to the next segment, let's unravel the mysteries surrounding Pournelle's iron law of bureaucracy and gain a fresh perspective. Another law of his is Pournelle's iron law of bureaucracy. He eventually restated it as, "This is related to the iron law of oligarchy and to the self-licking ice cream cone." His blog, The View from Chaos Manor, often references apparent examples of the law. Some of Pournelle's standard themes that recur in the stories are welfare states become self-perpetuating, building a technological society requires a strong defense and the rule of law, and those who forget history are condemned to repeat it. As we enter this new phase, let's analyze awards from different angles and evaluate its significance. Pournelle never won a Hugo Award. He said, "Money will get you through times of no Hugos better than Hugos will get you through times of no Moni Bronze Medal." American Security Council, 1964 Inkpot Award, 1979 John W. Campbell Award for Best New Writer of 1973 Prometheus Hall of Fame Jerry Pournelle John Fahrenheit. Co-editors, The Survival of Freedom 1991 Prometheus Award for Fallen Angels 1992 Scion Award for Foreign Novel in Japanese Translation 1998 Fallen Angels Hainan Society Award with frequent co-author Larry Niven 2005 National Space Society Robert A. Heinlein Memorial Award for Lifetime Achievement in Promoting the Goal of a Free, Spacefaring Civilization. Now, it's time to shift gears and explore scholarly. The SSX concept became the DCX, the first successful reusable vertical landing rocket craft. Now let's delve into the intricacies of non-fiction and explore its various aspects. Stability and National Security Air Force Directorate of Doctrines, Concepts and Objectives 1968 The Strategy of Technology with Stephen T. Possony and Francis X. Kane, 1970 A Step Farther Out, The Velikovsky Affair. Galaxy Science Fiction, February 1975. A Step Farther Out 1981 The User's Guide to Small Computers 1984 Mutually Assured Survival 1984 Adventures in Micro and 1985 Guide to Disk Operating System and Easy Computing 1989 Pournelle's PC Communications Bible, The Ultimate Guide to Productivity with the Modem with Michael Banks 1992 Jerry Pournelle's Guide to DOS and Easy Computing, DOS over Easy 1992 Jerry Pournelle's Windows with an Attitude 1995 PC Hardware, The Definitive Guide 2003 with Bob Thompson 1001 Computer Words You Need to Know 2004. Get ready for a captivating exploration as we unravel the layers of fiction and their profound significance. Red Heron as Wade Curtis 1969, Red Dragon as Wade Curtis 1970 Novelization of the movie Escape from the Planet of the Apes 1973 A Spaceship for the King 1973 expanded as King David's Spaceship 1981 High Justice 1974 Birth of Fire 1976 West of Honor 1976 later integrated into Falkenberg's Legion, and as Arrowhead incorporated into The Prince the Mercenary 1977 Exiles to Glory 1977 Janissaries 1979 Men of War 1993 Swarm 1998 Prince of Mercenaries 2002 Janissaries 4, Mamelukes 2020. Let's now zoom in on with Larry Niven and uncover the hidden gems that lie within. The Moat in God's Eye 1974 with Larry Niven Inferno 1976 with Larry Niven Lucifer's Hammer 1977 with Larry Niven Oath of Fealty 1981 with Larry Niven Footfall 1985 with Larry Niven The Legacy of Herrick 1987 with Larry Niven and Stephen Barnes Fallen Angels 1991 with Larry Niven and Michael Flynn Prometheus Award. Electronic edition free at the Bain Free Library The Gripping Hand 1993 with Larry Niven also known as The Moat Around Murchison's a UK edition Beowulf's Children 1995 with Stephen Barnes and Larry Niven also known as The Dragons of Herod 1995 UK edition The Burning City 2000 with Larry Niven Burning Tower 2005 sequel to The Burning City with Larry Niven Escape from Hell 2009 with Larry Niven. Get ready for an exciting exploration as we unravel the mysteries of With Others. The Houses of the Xinti with South. M. Sterling and Dean in the Children's are with South. M. Sterling The Prince Anthology with South. M. Sterling Go Tell the Spartans 2002 with South. M. Sterling Janissaries 2. Clan and Crown 1982 with Roland J. Green Janissaries 3, Storms of Victory 1987 with Roland J. Green Tran with Roland J. Green, single-volume combination of the never-completed second and third Janissaries novels Higher Education with Charles Sheffield. In the next phase, we'll be immersing ourselves in the realm of series and exploring its real-world applications. Harrod Condominium Janissaries series. Now let's delve into the intricacies of other media and explore its various aspects. Triangulation. Dr. Pournelle was interviewed by Leo Laporte for 2 episodes of Triangulation, episodes 90 and 95 in 2013. This Week in Tech. Dr. Pournelle has appeared a number of times as one of the panelists on the podcast This Week in Tech, including episode 427 on October 13, 2013. Episode 463 on June 22, 2014, and with Larry Niven in episode 468 on July 27, 2014. He also appeared in the science documentary film Target, Earth, 1980. Turning our focus to anthology as editor, let's explore its key elements. Anthology as editor. 20 Vision 1974 The Endless Frontier Anthology Series, Vols IIIV edited with John Fahrenheit. Car, Vols IV Black Holes 1981 The Survival of Freedom 1981 with John Fahrenheit. Car Nebula Award Stories 16 1982 with John Fahrenheit. Car The Endless Frontier, Vol. II 1985 with John Fahrenheit. Car Imperial Stars, Volume 1, The Stars at War 1986 Imperial Stars, Volume 2, Republic and Empire 1987 Imperial Stars, Volume 3, The Crash of Empire 1989 Far Frontiers Anthology Series, Vols III edited with Jim Bain, Vols III There Will Be War Anthology Series, Vols IIX edited with John Fahrenheit. Car, Vols X. Stay connected and join our community by subscribing and following me on other platforms.